This is the Mole Richardson LED Baby Combo Kit. All right, if that's not a mouthful. LED Baby Combo Kit from Mole Richardson. So this case is probably the largest lighting case I've seen in a long time. And it contains only 3 lights. But they're 3 very useful lights. It's another wheeled case, so that's awesome. We'll pop that side open. There we go, just 2 latches. And inside the case we have 2 babies and a tweenie, 3 kit stands, and barn doors and scrims for this one. So inside the roof, just above the foam here, we should have some scrim bags. So inside here, we'll go through some scrims here in a moment. And I should have some barn doors. Now, the thing about these barn doors, they're older than I am probably. And so these fixtures were actually relamped with LEDs some years ago. So part of them is really old and part of them is very new. Let's take a look. So part of the Mole Richardson LED Baby Kit, there are 2 babies and a tweenie. Now, Mole Richardson's line of lights uses names instead of how many watts they actually were. So once we learn all of those names, the Mole Richardson names kind of carry over sometimes into other brands as well. So a baby is a 1,000 watt Fresnel lens light. Okay, great. And in Mole Richardson speak, a tweenie is a 650 Fresnel light. So the Airy 650s that we just looked at, those are technically tweenies. The tweenie is a tweenie. And since they're all LED, none of them are actually 650 watts anymore. So calling a tweenie maybe makes more sense now. Anyway, this is a baby, which is the kit is also an LED baby kit. But we decided to put 1 tweenie and 2 babies in there. It comes with its own kit stands, barn door, and scrim bag. So first up, I'm gonna put the barn doors on. And the Mole Richardsons, at least this era Mole Richardsons, don't have any kind of clamp on the top there to hold this in. So I want to make sure that, you know, if this light were going to be hanging in any way where the barn doors could fall out, that it was secured. Open up your barn doors before striking the light. Same thing I had with the every other light. I want to make sure that there's some strain relief happening here so that I tie off the switch if I can to prevent this cable from being pulled too tightly from the weight of it. All right, so I'm going to fire that up, and sure enough, there we go. It's our LED baby. And that's 1,000 watt equivalent in LED, which is around 100 watts or so. And that is a daylight balanced. So these are daylight balanced babies. I believe they did make some tungsten ones to match the original babies, which were tungsten. They may even have some bicolor ones these days. I'm not quite sure. One of the cool features that's built into this fixture here, if we take a look at the back side, is there is a built-in dimmer. This knob right here allows me to dim that down. It is a smoother, more gradual dimming. All the way up and all the way down. We still get a little bit of quantity out of that, so it's not a full amount. Now, I am a little apprehensive to use dimmers on electronic lights because I've had difficulty with flicker and shutter mismatch and things on various camera systems. So I'm a little apprehensive to use dimmers on electronic lights. It should be good because Mole Richardson is a brand that is for filmmaking. But a sure bet to cut my light is to actually use scrims. So these circular metal screen material are made to put in front of the light, and they cut the quantity of light so without changing the quality. So I still get a hard light or a soft light depending on what materials I put in front of it, but the screen itself is not changing that. It's simply changing the quantity. So a red is a double and should be a full stop of cut. So if I put that in there. Now, Presumably you saw that on the camera, how it changed. It was mostly how it hit the barn door slightly differently coming out before the screen. So it had nothing to do with that, changing the quantity. And a green colored scrim should be a single. It is a single, and it should be a half stop. And then I have some specialty scrims in here. So this is a green half scrim, and though the coloring is gone on this one, I believe it is a double half scrim. And these are super helpful if I need to cut the quantity of light in the foreground of the scene, but want the light to pass through to the background of the scene. So that half scrim will allow it to be cut just on the bottom or the top or the side. So those are super helpful. There's another double in this kit. So there's 2 doubles, a single, and then a half of each as well. And thankfully, because this is an LED fixture, it's not getting very hot. So the scrims aren't getting very hot. But if you are using a tungsten fixture of this type, putting the scrims in there, they'll get fairly hot after a couple of minutes. And so you'd want to have a tool to remove those. Now, typically we're going to take this scrim bag or scrim box, depends on the light fixture, and we're probably just going to hang that on one of the T-knobs of the stand so that it's accessible and ready to use. If I left that back in the lighting kit outside of set or back on the truck or somewhere else, and I got to run to go get a double scrim, that's too long. So make sure that you bring all of the parts to the light, the barn doors, the stand, and the scrim bag, if it has one, with you to set. Now, if I did have a scrim in a really hot light and I needed to get it out, and I don't have a multi-tool or a glove or something like that, even if I have gloves, it's hard to reach your gloved hand in there and retrieve that. But if you have a clip, most of the time we'll have some number 1 and number 2 1-inch or 2-inch spring clips on set for various reasons. And so if I take one of those and clip it onto the hot scrim and pull that out, I could use that as my tool. But make sure that you don't lay this hot metal screen on carpet or linoleum floor or anything else that could be damaged by a hot metal scrim. Even the scrim bag potentially might be too vulnerable.